Okay, what we have here is not something I would really call a white elephant, but it's certainly been left in the dust by modern technology. You might recognize that model number there, PC3500G. I believe that Max Arcade made a video of one of those. It's an Everex computer that I believe would have been sold at Walmart for very cheap, certified for Windows Vista Basic. Or Home Basic, I guess is what they called it. But anyway, it's actually a Gigabyte motherboard. There's the Gigabyte model there. And it bases itself around a VIA C7 processor. I think it's a VIA C7D clocked at 1.5 gigahertz. So, not very powerful at all. The VIA C7 is kind of a piece of crap. But I can tell you that the power usage is fairly low. If you go ahead and take a look here, you can see that it is only using 35 watts, which is not bad for a computer that was designed to basically be a full-scale machine. And this comes before things like the Intel Atom CPU and ARM chips and related things. It does have PCI Express, with a very nice locking mechanism. I wish more manufacturers would use that. And a single PCI slot. It's pretty well featured. It does have 2 serial ATA ports, but of course, those are IDE emulation. This thing's too old to support AHCI of any kind. It does say it would support RAID, but I don't know really what kind of capability RAID that would be. Probably not very good. There's the VT8237A South Bridge. I think the North Bridge is underneath that heatsink. The dual fans is not original. I had to replace the fan because, as it turns out, this Everflow fan is not so ever after all. The bearings are bad, and they're really bad. I don't know if you can actually even be able to tell if I flip it around and spin it. Well, not really, but it grinds pretty badly, so that's junk. It came with what I presume is the original 512 meg RAM stick. Just PC240-200, nothing too great. I've upgraded it to 2 gigs, but this thing arrived broken. In fact, it's still broken because I haven't really solved the problem. There's broken solder joints on it somewhere, because it would just sit there and it would act as if the RAM was bad, and it didn't matter which memory module I used. It would just act as if the RAM was bad. So finally I just had enough of that, and I flexed the board and plugged everything back in, and then it started working. But I don't know how long it's actually going to work for. There you can see some of the specs at least. But my curiosity is piqued. I want to see what this thing will boot, if anything. I'm kind of curious if I can get a Linux distribution to run on this with a full GUI and everything. It has 2 gigs of RAM on it now, which is probably the most it's ever going to see. I'm not even sure if this would support 2 gigabyte memory modules. That might be a little too big for it. But I'm going to get out of setup. We'll try and get out of setup. Okay, I wonder if it's actually locked up on me. No, the keyboard's working, so I'm not sure why it's behaving the way it's behaving. Let me see here. Oh, there we go. So we'll quit without saving. I haven't made any changes. That's the caps lock key. We'll see what it does. There's a beep. There's the Everex splash screen. There's no devices for it to boot to other than the Ethernet. Oh, look, checksum error. I don't really care. Probably have to replace the battery. Ooh, disk failure. Okay, let me see if I can get the settings straightened out. Okay, let's try it again. Alright, Shift-Tab to display network boot option menu. Here we go. It's via chip. Okay, boot Linux distribution. Now, question becomes, what do we start on this? I think we're pretty much limited to 32-bit only. So, we'll have to go, because Linux Mint 20 does not have a 32-bit version. We'll go to 19. And let's try 19.3 with the XFCE desktop. And we'll see if that'll actually load. Kind of curious if that'll actually work or not. Hey, look at all those error messages. Wonder if it's going to try and load anyway? Or if that's the point at which it stopped. So it looks like it does not like the ACPI on this thing. I don't think it's going to go any further than that. Oh, never mind. It's going to try and boot. That's a nice noise for it to be making. Huh. Coil whine. It doesn't actually seem to be working, though. Which is impressive. Hey, look! It actually managed to boot. So that's cool. Now, whether or not it can actually do anything practical, that's another question entirely. I'm gonna just hit it right out of the box, see if it can play a YouTube video. Oh well, the camera was out of focus, but it was complaining about a slow web page. Yeah, not much of a good experience on this. Wow. It's just completely left in the dust. I wonder if it would even play a video. Obviously there's not going to be any sound, because I don't have any speakers attached to this, but... Oh, it's going to load an ad. That's good. Yep. Probably not able to do that. I clicked it to turn off the autoplay, and yeah, playing it is not. So looks like evidently this is not really capable of doing that kind of work. The rest of the OS isn't dragging though. Yeah, that's about what I expected to see. It's using up 100% of the CPU. You're not really getting anywhere. If I close this, it would actually close. Yeah, here we go. Just closed it. Got a bunch of things showing up in red. And yeah, the CPU usage drops down dramatically. So, useful for web browsing, this is not. And I figure if you add a RAID card, and I do have one, leave this, yeah, this right here. Just a little silicon image card. I haven't been able to get this to work in really much of anything, but if you can get this to work with an operating system, like say Open Media Vault and Debian, you know, it might be a passively acceptable file server or something similar like that. And I think in the future I may end up using it for such a task, but for desktop operating system usage, not really. I think this thing's been left completely in the dirt. So I'm going to conclude the video with that. Eventually we'll put this in a case, maybe give it some kind of a practical use, but for right now I've got too many projects ongoing, and I do need to fix the solder joint problem on this before I really use it for anything practical anyway, so that's pretty much it for that. It runs, but VSC 7, of course, has just been completely left in the dirt. I might try running Raspbian on it. That might actually be an interesting little experiment. Because if it can run on a Raspberry Pi, it should be able to run on this. Can't even shut down. Wow. I don't even have anything else to say, so I can't stall for time. So I guess we'll just cut the power to it and end the video with that.